I'm good. Shalom, everyone.
Shabbat Shalom.
It's so nice to see all of you here this evening outside in nature among the trees with the sun shining through and sort of a beautiful warm breeze. Cool breeze, I guess. Yeah. And I'm glad I got to greet some of you before services, and Cantor and I will have a chance to greet and talk with all of you after services as well. So let's bring in Shabbat this evening. We are going to begin our service with Shehechianu, which is a prayer we say at all kinds of times, special occasions, special moments. And this evening, we are about to start the month of Elul on Sunday. So we're a day early, but we're going to say the Shehechianu for having reached this moment, this time, Elul of introspection and thinking about how we have acted and things we've said and how we've felt over the past year, and thinking about how we want to be in the year to come to set us up for our high holy days, Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. So we are going to usher in this time of year, this special season with Shehechianu.
The melody that we're going to sing is one that I think most of us know, and most of us have sung many times at many joyous occasions. This week, we lost an Israeli composer by the name of Tzvika Peak, who wrote the Shema that we'll do in the service in a little while, as well as the Shehechianu that we're going to sing right now. So in memory of Tzvika Peak, whose presence is large in all of our celebrations of wonderful moments, we sing, Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam shehechianu v'kiyamanu v'higianu lazman hazeh. One long amen.
Welcome in Shabbat. We'll begin with Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom, 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 Shabbat Shalom. Let's sing lai lai lai, lai 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 lai, lai 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 lai. Lai, 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 lai. Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom.
We'll turn to page 2 for reading number 1. We'll read responsively. Many are the generations of Israel, and in every age we have sought the living God through Sabbath rest and worship. This time and place hold the power to increase our joy in the eternal. O God, even as we seek you in the sanctuary, help us to know that your glory fills all space. Make us understand that you are with us at all times, if we but open our minds to you.
We feel the presence of your Spirit in our homes and on our ways. We see the beauty of your creation in garden, lake, and sky, and in the human form. We hear you in the silence of our own hearts, speaking the truths the heart knows.
May we be your witnesses to the world, your messengers to all the earth.
May we show forth your image within us, the divine spark that makes us human.
And we'll continue with Lecha Dodi on page 3. And this evening, for the final verse for Boi V'Shalom, we will stand up. We're welcoming in the Shabbat bride, and we will use this direction as sort of our entrance to the synagogue, that we're welcoming the Shabbat bride into our midst for that final verse.
Lecha lecha dodi, likrat kala, pene Shabbat nekabela. Lecha lecha dodi, likrat kala, pene Shabbat nekabela la la. Lecha dodi, likrat kala, pene Shabbat nekabela. Lecha dodi, likrat kala, pene Shabbat nekabela. Shamor v'zachor b'dibur echad, Hishmi'anu el hameyuchad, Adonai echad u'shemo echad, L'shem multiveret v'litila la 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 la. Lecha dodi, likrat kala, pene Shabbat nekabela. Lecha dodi, likrat kala, pene Shabbat nekabela. Hitoreri, ki va'orech kol mi'ori, Ori shir daberi, kevod Adonai alayich nigela la la. Lecha dodi, likrat kala, pene Shabbat nekabela. Lecha dodi, likrat kala, pene Shabbat nekabela. Boi v'shalom ateret ba'ala, gam besimcha u'v'tzola, tol chemunei am segula. Boi chala, lecha dodi, likrat kala, pene Shabbat nekabela. Lecha dodi, likrat kala, pene Shabbat nekabela la la. Lecha dodi, likrat kala, pene Shabbat nekabela. Lecha dodi, likrat kala, pene Shabbat nekabela.
You may be seated. We will read together in the middle of page 4. We'll read responsively. There are days when we seek things for ourselves and measure failure by what we do not gain.
On Shabbat, we seek not to acquire, but to share.
There are days when we exploit nature as if it were a horn of plenty that can never be exhausted.
On Shabbat, we stand in wonder before the mystery of creation.
There are days when we act as if we cared nothing for the rights of others.
On Shabbat, we remember that justice is our duty and a better world our goal.
So we embrace Shabbat, day of rest, day of wonder, day of peace. And we'll continue with Chatzi Kadesh on page 5.
Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, divrach be'alma divrach chirutei v'yamlich malchutei, b'chayechon v'yomechon uv'chayedecho beit Yisrael, bagala uvizman kari veimeru amen. Yehi shmei Rabba mevarach le'alam le'olmei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnasei v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shemei dekudesha בריחו לאלה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה, תושבחתה ונחמתה, דמירן בעלמה, ויאמרו Amen.
We will rise for the Baruch Hu, our call to worship, on page 6.
Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMevorach. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach le'olam va'ed.
We'll continue on page 6 with these words of Ma'ariv Aravim, thanking God for creation and for putting the stars and the moon in their course in the sky. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bidvaro ma'ariv aravim, b'chochma poteach she'arim, uvitvuna meshane itim, umachalif et hazmanim, umsader et hakochavim, b'mishmerotehem barakia kirtzono, borei yom v'layla, golel or mipnei choshech, v'choshech mipnei or. Uma'avir yom umevi laila, umavdil ben yom uvein laila, Adonai tzivaot shemo. El chai v'kayam, tamid yimloch aleinu le'olam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai, hama'ariv aravim. And we turn to page 7 for Ahavat Olam.
Ahavat olam, Beit Yisrael, Amcha ahavta, Amcha ahavta. Torah u'mitzvot, chukim u'mishpatim, otanu limadeta, otanu limadeta. Al kein Adonai Eloheinu v'shochbeinu uvkumeinu nasi b'chukecha v'nismach b'divrei toratecha uv'mitzvotecha le'olam va'ed ki hem chayenu Be'orech yameinu Uvahem nege yomam v'layla Nege yomam v'layla Ve'ahavatcha al tasir Imenu le'olamim, Baruch atah Adonai, Ohev amo Yisrael. Ohev amo Yisrael.
We turn to the watchword of our faith, the Shema, on page 8.
Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. 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 Baruch Shem Kivod Malchuto Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch Shem Kivod Malchuto Le'olam Va'ed. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad.
You may be seated for Ve'ahavta on page 9.
Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavecha u'v'chol nafshecha u'v'chol me'odecha ve'hayu hadvarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzavecha hayom al levavecha Veshinantam levanecha v'dibarta bam b'shivtecha b'veitecha uv'lechtecha v'derech uv'shochbecha uv'kumecha ukeshartam leot al yadecha v'hayu letotafot bein einecha uchetavtam al mezuzot beitecha uv'isharecha למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם Adonai Elohechem Emet.
We'll continue at the top of page 10, reading responsively. Emet, there is no place where you are not. Even in the wilderness, there is your word. That pen stroke of lightning,
White fire, black flame, stir the soul's passion, guide our sacred way. True and enduring is the Torah.
Your truth for us is certain and established, now and forevermore. Like Moses, Miriam, and all Israel, we sing out and rejoice with Mi Chamocha.
Mi Chamocha Bailim Adonai, Mi Chamocha Nedar Bakodesh. Nora tehilot osef ele, Nora tehilot osef ele. Malchutecha ra'uvanecha, bokei hayam lifnei Moshe u'Miriam. Ze'eli anu ve'ameru, Adonai imloch, Adonai imloch, le'olam va'ed. V'nemar, kifada Adonai et Yaakov, וגאלו מיד חזק ממנו, ברוך אתה אדוני גאל ישראל.
We'll turn to page 11. If you separate yourself from certain weekday activities, you might imagine each of these as a step away from the ordinary hectic world into the peaceful realm of Shabbat. Imagine yourself stepping away from a world of carrying money to a realm where everything is yours just for the looking. Stepping away from a world in which everything must be written down to a realm where all is grasped just in the listening. stepping away from a world of frenzied traffic by walking down a quiet lane, stepping away from a world soaked in artificial light, which needs to be turned on and off, into a realm where only the rising and setting of the sun, the interplay of brightness and shadow, light your life. We'll turn to Vishamru on page 12.
ושמרו והנה ישראל את השבת לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם ביני ובין בני ישראל אותי לעולם כי ששת ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ וביום השביעי שבת וינפש.
We've reached the tefillah in our service, our standing prayer, the center of our worship service this evening. Will rise on page 12 as we begin to sing Adonai Sifatai, and we will turn ourselves to the east, which is where we are already standing. Wonderful.
Adonai sifatai tiftach ufi yagid tehilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu ve'Elohei avotenu ve'imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, ve'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, ve'Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor v'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, Vekonei Hakol, V'zocher Chastei Avot ve'imahot, Umevi Geula livnei v'neihem, Lema'an Shemo be'ahava, Melech Chozer u'Moshia u'Magen, Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham ve'ezrat Sarah. Atah gibor le'olam Adonai, Mechayei hakol atah rav lehoshia, Mechalkel chaim bechesed, Mechayei hakol berachamim rabim, Somech noflim ve'rofei cholim, Umatir asurim, umekayem emunato, lishenei afar, michamocha ba'al gevurot, umido melach, melech memit, umechaye, umatzmiach Yeshua, V'ne'eman atah lehachayot hakol. Baruch atah Adonai mechayei hakol. Atah kadosh v'shimcha kadosh, u'kadoshim b'chol yom yahalelucha sela. Baruch atah Adonai ha'el hakadosh.
You may be seated. We'll continue reading responsively on page 14. There is holiness when we strive to be true to the best we know.
There is holiness when we are kind to someone who cannot possibly be of service to us.
There is holiness when we forget what divides us and remember what unites us.
There is holiness when we are willing to be laughed at for what we believe in.
There is holiness when we love truly, honestly, and unselfishly.
There is holiness when we remember the lonely and bring cheer into dark corners.
There is holiness when we share our bread, ideas, and our enthusiasm.
There is holiness when we gather to pray to God, who gave us the power to pray.
And we'll continue with Modim Anachnu Lach, our prayer of Hoda'ah, of thanksgiving. On Shabbat, it is a time for us to be grateful, a period for us to take a step back from the busyness of the week, the rush and crush of each and every day, and to invite that holiness and that gratitude into our lives. So we'll read reading number 1 at the top of page 15. O God of Israel's past, O God of this day, God of all flesh, creator of all life, we praise you, the Most High, for the gift of life. We give thanks. O source of God, that life endures, eternal and infinite one, help us to use our life for blessing, to live by your law, to do your will, to walk in your way with a whole heart. We thank you, eternal God, for the blessing of life. And with that gratitude on our lips, we turn to a prayer of peace. Shalom Rav.
Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Le'olam. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Le'olam. Ki atahu melech adon lechol hashalom. Ki atahu melech adon lechol hashalom. Shalom Rav, Shalom Rav al Yisrael amcha tasim le'olam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael amcha tasim le'olam. וטוב בעיניך לברך את עמך ישראל בכל עת ובכל שעה בשלומך. One, two, three. Shalom Rav al Yisrael amcha tasim le'olam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael amcha tasim le'olam. Tasim le'olam. Tasim le'olam.
And with that prayer for peace, for shalom, for wholeness, we turn our thoughts to those in our community who could use a prayer for shalom, for wholeness and fullness of body and spirit and mind. Our Congregation Shalom community is thinking of Shandol Bat Frida Malka, Julie Borikoff, Margot Raz, Carol Dubin, Samsara Vizkaya, Sharon Rotman, Bob Radke, Lyle Rubel, Jean Bass, Alan Turner, Steve Toplinski, Myron Dvorkin, Esther Cohen, Lisa Furstad, Harav Ilana Miriam Bat Chava, Faye Levin, Hachazan Sarah Rachel Bat Yocheved Alexander, Tia Barrett, Wendy Salzberg, Steve Plotkin, Kathy Peltz, Avram Ben Naftali, Emma and Max, Doug Cruz, Nadiva Sarah Batliba, Carol Rovner, David Goldstein, Marilyn Harmon, Chris St. Martin, Mary Bursack, Debbie Kelly, Susan Sack, Reza Tzvia Batshena Etta, Mary Frankowitz, Sophia Rubenstein, Ilana Himmelfarb, Charmaine Hayden, Wendy Wiviet, Sue Weller, Kate Wilson, Yocheved Bat Rundle V'chaim, Walter Shapiro, Otto Feller, Avraham Bat Frida, Marla Chakowski, Michael Sachek, David Rotter, Helene Wallenberg, Peter Becker, Natalie Cohen, Teresa Drews, Yona Neri Ben Avraham Basara, Batya Bat Moshe Valiba, Keith Mandel, Jamie Kreeman, Ela Bat Natan Vashoshana, Douglas Vreeland Shute, Mark Cook, Peyton Roberts, Cooper Saul Roberts, Luke Clinton Roberts, Keely Roberts, Jason Roberts, Mark Berlin, Dr. Susie Mendelson, Alta Werner, Yaakov Ben-Hinda V'Binyamin, Audrey Rubin, Josh Bolet, and Michaela Hellenberg. We turn to these words of healing, Misha Beirach. They can be found on page 17.
Misha Beirach Avoteinu Mikor HaBracha Le'imoteinu. May the source of strength, who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Misheberach imoteinu mikor habracha la'avoteinu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen.
We'll take a moment now for silent meditation for the words that are in your heart.
Ose shalom bimroma, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'imeru amen. עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו, ועל כל ישראל, ואמרו אמן. עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו, ועל כל ישראל, ואמרו אמן. עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו, ועל כל ישראל, ואמרו אמן. ואמרו אמן.
I love that Oseh Shalom. It's so peaceful.
Yeah.
No pun intended. Shabbat Shalom. Whenever he and his disciples gathered together in prayer, the Baal Shem Tov, the Besht, the founder of the Hasidic movement, would be completely absorbed. This was particularly true on Shabbat morning. During such a sacred and inspirational time, the prayers of the Baal Shem Tov and his disciples would continue for hours. After services concluded, they would gather in a side room for a wonderful kiddush, a light meal of cakes and some schnapps. Each week, however, the disciples finished their prayers long before the Baal Shem Tov finished his. In fact, the Baal Shem Tov would continue on and on and on and on. He would pray with his talit draped over his head, swaying back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. And the disciples would wait until their leader had finished. Even so, while he prayed, the disciples couldn't help but be distracted by the sweet aroma of the cakes and the schnapps wafting in from the next room. Their stomachs would start to rumble, and they'd get a little impatient. But they knew they had to wait for the Baal Shem Tov. One Shabbat morning, before the disciples began their prayers, one of them whispered to the others, "You know," he said, in a voice so quiet the others had to strain to hear him, "if we just got up and tiptoed into the next room, we could grab a quick bite and return right away. We wouldn't make a sound. He'd never know. He's always concentrating so intensely. What would be the harm?" The others weren't so sure. "It's not the right thing," many of them replied. But later that morning, having finished their prayers, the men watched the Baal Shem Tov praying, deeply concentrating beneath his talit, swaying back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. And the cakes and the schnapps beckoned, their sweet smell floating in the air, and the disciples' stomachs won out. Without making a sound, the leader of the disciples motioned for everyone to get up. Just when they rose from their seats, the Baal Shem Tov lifted his head, threw his talit from his shoulders, and cried out, "What happened? Where are you going?" The disciples were embarrassed. Some looked at the ground, some looked at one another and back up at their leader. They hemmed and they hawed and they stammered. But we hardly moved. We didn't make a sound. How did you know?" And the Baal Shem Tov looked at his followers When I pray, it is as though there is a ladder stretching from earth to heaven. And as I pray, I ascend the rungs of that ladder. But you hold up that ladder. And when you stood up to leave, I fell. This story illustrates the power of community. At Shalom, we have our weekday minyan, an evening service for those who enjoy the steady prayer practice and those who need to say Kaddish for a loved one they've lost. There are a group of regulars who come so that if people need to say Kaddish, they are not alone. We have the concept of a minyan, a group of 10 for prayer, because it is better to pray in community, especially after experiencing the death of a loved one. We show up for one another. It is our sacred obligation to care for one another. That care extends beyond our prayer community to all aspects of our lives. It is our duty as good people and as good Jews. In this week's Torah portion, Re'eh, we are given a host of commandments. Some of them focus on two related concepts: debt remission and providing for those in need. Every 7th year, Israelites are to release any debts owed to them by community members in what's called the Shemitah year. The Shemitah year is an opportunity to offset some economic inequality, a way to avoid or at the very least reduce the possibility of economic inequality of generational poverty. Directly after, we read that God will bless the Israelites in the Promised Land, and if there are community members in need, they must provide for them. It reads, Ki fatoach tiftach et yadcha lo, v'ha'avet ta'avitenu di machzoro asher yachzar lo. You must open your hand and lend whatever is sufficient to meet the need. We will be blessed in this land, and with the abundance that we have, we are to help those in our community who, for whatever reason, have not experienced that blessing in this season of their lives to support themselves. In that time, it was common to hire indentured servants, those who worked for a period of time to pay off a debt or a loan. Not only are the Israelites given this sacred obligation to support the community, but they should not have that niggling thought in the back of their minds that the Shemitah year is coming and be wary of lending to their neighbors. In other words, we take care of our own, not to our detriment, but not thinking about the possible loss of our abundance. On Monday, I had the opportunity to volunteer with Tikkun Ha'ir, our local Jewish social justice organization that, quote, engages the Jewish community to be active, thoughtful residents of Milwaukee area by working with other Jewish and local service organizations to help alleviate the pressing needs of those most vulnerable in our community. We went to Gwyneth Hill Farms to glean. What do I mean, glean? Isn't that just something we hear about in Torah? That Jewish farmers were to leave the corners of their fields unharvested for those most in need to take food. I can tell you, I did not think that I would ever contribute to this mitzvah. It's a little different. I'm not a farmer, as you can probably tell. But I, along with several Shalom congregants and others in our local community, harvested kale and sweet onions. The food we gleaned went to the Tikkun Ha'ir Veggie Chop Shop, a community meal program that turns excess produce from farmers markets, groceries, and farms into wonderful meals for those who experience food insecurity in our city. We participated in providing a social safety net for our fellow Milwaukeeans. We lived Torah values. It was fun and rewarding. What sometimes seems like a text that doesn't reach us, that served people a long time ago living a very different way of life, can become ours once again. Just like the Baal Shem Tov's disciples who held the ladder by praying with him on Shabbat mornings, we have chances to live our community values each day. Tikkun Ha'ir will be gleaning with Fondi Market on Sundays through the month of September. There are also opportunities to donate produce, cook and deliver meals with the Veggie Chop Shop. If you're interested in participating, go to Tikkun Ha'ir's website, thi-milwaukee.org, or you can ask our congregant and executive director of Tikkun Ha'ir, Sammy Stein-Avner, for more information. Shabbat Shalom. We will continue our service this evening with our concluding prayers with Aleinu, and we'll rise as a community for Aleinu on page 18.
Aleinu leshabeach la'adon hakol, latet gedula leyotze breshit, shelo asanu kegoye ha'aratzot, velo samanu kemishpechot ha'adama, shelo sam chelkenu kahem, vegor aleinu kechol hamonam, va'anachnu koreim, ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד ושמו אחד.
You may be seated. We recall the loved ones whom death has recently taken from us, those who have died at this season in years past, and those whom we have taken into our hearts with our own. First, we recall Tzvika Pick, the Israeli composer. And during the period of Shiva, our community commemorates the life of Terry Finch. And during the period of Shloshim, Nisan Bar-Lev. Those who have passed in seasons gone by, Rose Bistritz, Louis Bookstaff, Moishe Bookman, Ilse Kahn, Friedel Kahn, Joel Kahn, Max Kahn, Mary Chattis, Brenda Delane, Ronald Dorfman, Bernard Edelstein, Robert Ira Goldberg, Pearl Gratch, Susan Holloway, Leah Himmelfarb, Carolyn Hoffman, Deborah Ullman Hoffman, Sally W. Kaplan, David Kaczynski, Fred Katz, Jen Coffer, Bruce E. Ketchpaw, Edith Kohler, Eugene Connick, Louis Crom, Jeanette Kurzer, Joan Levine, Martin Lewin, Lita Lewis, Marlon Myers, Annabelle Meyerson, Jacob Milhendler, Ruth Nathan, Rebecca Pelton, Eugene Perchonik, Lou Pistoner, Mickey Pivar, Jacob Pollock, Benjamin Rubin, Max Schumo, Monroe Slavic, Richard M. Stone, Ernst Wallace, Ethel Weiss, Jan S. Willens, Esther Zesblatt, and Annette Zlotnick. If there are loved ones who you're thinking of who you'd like to share with our community, please do so as my eyes meet yours. And in addition to those loved ones in our community and those we hold in our hearts, we also think of the 6 million who perished in the Holocaust, those who have died due to acts of war and terrorism around our globe, the pandemic, as well as those who no longer have anyone to say Kaddish for them. We turn to these sacred words of Kaddish Yatom, Mourner's Kaddish, and rise on page 20. Yit Kadal, Vit Kadash, Shemei Rabbah, Ve'alma divrach hirute v'yamlich malchute. V'chayachon uvyomachon uvchaye dechol beit Yisrael. V'agala v'zman kariv v'imru amen. Yehe shmei rabba mevorach le'olam u'almei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh. V'yitadar v'yitale v'yitalal shmei dekudesha b'richu. La'ela min kol birchata v'shirata. Tushbechata v'nechemata. Damiran be'alma v'imru amen. Yehe shlama rabba min shemaya. V'chaim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom v'imromav. Hu ya'aseh shalom. Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Zichronam livracha. May their memories be for a blessing. And together we say, Amen.
Amen.
You may be seated. It's a pleasure to give you some announcements this evening. It is a pleasure. We have a lot going on at this time. So this weekend, we have our teacher orientation for Sunday school and religious school. We are about to get started with that again, and we are so excited to have the children back in our building. And we also have one of our Slichot movie series, the movie Soul, this Sunday at 1 p.m. In addition, backing up a little bit, we have Shabbat services tomorrow morning as well as Torah study at 9 a.m. and 10 a.m., followed by our Shabbat luncheon. And we are closely approaching the high holidays. So if you... I'm not ready. Closely, slowly, but not so slowly, approaching the high holidays. So if you have loved ones that you'd like in our Book of Remembrances, please contact our office. And if you would like to sign up for services, again, please contact our office. I think we have materials that are going out in the next few days for you to register either online or through paper forms. So we look forward to having you all with us for this High Holy Day season. And look in your emails for our daily Elul quotes. We've been doing this for a couple of years now. It is our opportunity to sort of prepare ourselves for this high holiday season, thinking of the themes of repentance and repair and introspection and sweetness and a few others. So watch out for those if you want to sign up for them to get them in your email, or you can see them on Facebook. Okay, I think that about covers it. So now it is an honor to call up Elaine Keller and Sarah Ackerman to lead us in, Sarah Acker, I'm sorry, to lead us in our candle lighting blessing. We are on page 21.
We snuggle into its folds, eyes closed, breathing deeply, we feel at peace. We feel the cares and worries of the day fall away, leaving quiet, contentment, serenity. We see, even with eyes closed, 2 small pinpoints of light drawing us close, causing us to feel warmth inside as well as out. We smile and embrace them, as we do each week, as our ancestors did, as our children will do each week.
This is the hardest part of Shabbat. The greatest modern challenge. It's true. It's true.
a good question. Yeah, that would be great. We will improvise.
Shabbat Shalom. Nicely done, Rabbi. Shabbat Shalom. Go, Linda, go. Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. Yai, dai, dai, dai. Yai, dai, 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 dai. Well done, well done. We're just going to light and we'll bless.
Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kichanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu lahadlik ner shel Shabbat.
We sing together. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadlik ner Shel Shabbat.
Thank you. Sorry. Okay. And we will rise for Kiddush to conclude our service on page 22.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu v'shabbat kodsho be'ahava uvratzon hinchilanu Zikaron lemaaseh v'reishit Ki hu yom techila lemikra'ei kodesh Zecher litziat Mitzrayim Kivanu v'acharta Ve'otanu kidashta mikol ha'amim V'shabbat kodshecha be'ahava uvratzon hinchaltanu Baruch atah Adonai mekadesh HaShabbat. L'chaim.
Yum. And we will conclude with another rendition of Shabbat Shalom.
Well, you know, I was thinking of that, Rabbi.
Oh, maybe we will conclude with something different.
Something different you never can tell with Cantor Purper. Okay, page 25. Here is a French Sephardic Adon Olam. You might know it. Adon Olam Asher Malach B'terem Kol Yitzir Nira Le'et Nasa B'chefso Kol Hazai Melech Shemo Nikra Hazai Melech Shemo Nikra Be'yad Charei Kiklot HaKol Levado Yimloch Nora Ve'hu Haya Ve'hu Hove Ve'hu Yiyeh B'tifara Ve'hu Yiyeh B'tifara Ve'hu Echad Ve'ein Sheni Lehamshilo Lehachmira Ve'li Reshit Ve'li Tachlit Ve'lo Ha'oz Ve'hamisraf Ve'lo Ha'oz Ve'hamisraf Ve'hu Eli Ve'chai Goali Ve'tzor Chevli Ve'etzara Ve'hu Nisi Umanos Li Menat Kosi Beyom Ekra Menat Kosi Beyom Ekra Beyado Akidruchi Be'etishan Be'aira Be'imruchi Geviyati Adonai Li Velo Ira Adonai Li Velo Ira.
Shabbat Shalom.
Yai da da, yai da 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 da, yai da da, yai da 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 da, yai da da da, yai da da da, yai da da, yai da da, yai da 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 da, yai da da. And to all those at home, we say, Shabbat Shalom.
Good Shabbos, Cantor. And I'd love to hear about that. That sounds so interesting.